Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Justin Young. He is Josh Tech. Welcome to the Fast Break Georgia High School Basketball Edition here on a nice Monday morning, wherever you're watching. We appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you hitting that live button as you watch it right here on X, whether you're watching on YouTube, wherever you're watching it. We appreciate you coming by, hanging out with us as we talk a little high school basketball state playoffs. And Josh, it's been playoff time wherever you look, but obviously there in the state of Georgia where you're at. I watched a ton over the weekend, burned a lot of midnight oil getting into it. And I feel like we've got a nice slate of state championship games in the state of Georgia that are worthy for a crown to be placed on the top of the proverbial head of a team. Are you excited about this week, my friend?
Yeah, it's always one of the more interesting and fun weeks. You get middle of the week basketball that lasts, for 5 days or so.
Yeah.
And you get a bunch of games in the afternoon. So that's always fun.
It does feel like the precursor. Like last week was Alabama and North Carolina. This week is Georgia. Next week there's a lot of Tennessee. I think it's next week, maybe the week after. But it kind of falls in line for all these state titles. Then the conference tournaments and the March Madness.
Yeah,
and then we get into travel ball, the NBA playoffs. To me, it's really where the best basketball on the planet is played, at least here in North America. And it's kind of fun to get into it. But obviously, there in the state of Georgia, we've got some guys, we've got some teams that are worthy of a conversation on a national level. We're going to go through each of these state title games. We've got 8 of them to go through, 2 in Class A, single, Division I, Division II, and of course 7A all the way down to 2A as well. We're going to go through each of them. We're going to talk a little bit about what we saw in the semifinals, and then we'll preview a little bit and give some thoughts and some ideas and some topics to talk about here in the finals. So I guess let me just kind of lead with this. Was there a takeaway at all for you in the semifinals, like a big picture thought from the games that you watched over the weekend?
Not really, honestly. I know that's not like a great thing to say, and that's kind of a boring answer. But like it's honestly been like relatively predictable, aside from a couple upsets. Like if you would have asked me last June or July, I've been 7A, I would have said it's probably gonna be Grayson and McEachern.
Yeah.
Like it's like a lot of these it's high school basketball, so a lot of it's somewhat predictable. It's not as
Sure.
maddening and crazy as college basketball, where you can get crazy upsets. A lot of the times, just the talent wins out.
And I feel like that's kind of been the course throughout the season, right? McEachern and Grayson, are these two teams going to find each other in the very end? Is Wheeler good enough this year? Are they too young? Do they not have enough experience to upset the apple cart? Is there going to be another program like we saw in Norcross or Milton or one of these other programs, Berkmar, and to come up out of 7A to defeating these guys? And the answer was no. So now here we have the title game on March 9th, 7:30 down in the Macon Coliseum.
Maybe downtown Macon.
Well, kind of. It's on the other side of the highway. But nevertheless, you've got the 7A title game coming up on March 9th. You got McEachern, you got Grayson. We got to start there. Let's start there at the very top. I mean, like you said, these were the two roads that felt like we were going to see each other in the very end. They played each other during the season. I think you were there for that.
They opened the season. First game of the season.
Were you there for that game?
Yeah. Grayson won, I would say relatively convincingly. Like it wasn't in doubt, really.
What allowed them to kind of control the game at such a level to really not put any doubt out there for you?
I think at that point, McEachern just hadn't really gelled that much, and it looks like McEachern's playing a lot better now. But Grayson also just has supreme depth. They have the most depth out of any team in the state. So I think that just helped them kind of get over the hump in the first game of the season. And their depth has been together mostly for a couple seasons now, aside from Jacob Wilkins, who transferred in over the summer. But the rest of the guys were there last year, and they've got plenty of experience together. So,
well, okay, here's the question. So when they played the very first game of the season, like you said, it was a different McEachern team. And truth be told, it was a different Grayson team. But who guarded Ace Bailey? And like ultimately, how do you stop Ace Bailey from being the best high school basketball player in the country?
I don't remember who guarded him. That was back in the beginning of November. I honestly couldn't remember off the top of my head. I'm sure they sent multiple guys at him. And I think to prevent Ace Bailey from being the best player in the country is impossible. You're just going to have to limit him to somewhere in the 20-point range as opposed to letting him go off for 30 points.
Yeah, I don't know if you can do that because he's been killing it in the playoffs. His postseason run has been absolutely bananas. In the tournament, I think he's basically averaging 33 points, 15 and a half rebounds a game. He
Yeah.
was incredible against Wheeler in the semifinals. He did some things. I went through and I cut up a lot of videos, so I'll be dropping some stuff on our Hoopsy in Georgia account, maybe even through my personal account here today. There's some plays with Ace Bailey that I'm absolutely dumbfounded by some of the things that he's doing on the floor right now. And he's playing like we've talked about before. We've talked about him in comparison to Ace Bailey, or not Ace Bailey, Cooper Flagg, and where does he stack up? And I don't know if there's a more dynamic player in high school basketball right now than Ace Bailey, particularly what we're seeing from him in the postseason. And again, going back to November when they played each other to where they are now, I feel like we've seen such a significant gap between then and now at a high level that Ace Bailey is a much different guy now in March than he was in November for Grayson to game plan for.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the game for me. It seems like the game plan is just don't let anybody else go crazy, because if Ace gets 30 and you limit everybody else,
Sure.
that's that's fine, because Grayson has 5 guys that can go for double digit points. So I think Grayson's going to lean on their depth in this one. But Ace does look like he's the #1 player in the country right now, from my purview at least. He's playing like a guy that has the highest ceiling in the 2024 class.
When I was watching him, like I said, late last night, going through the film, loving every second of it. Like my wife was in the other room, and I kept going, God dang. She was like, "What is going on in there?" I'm like, "I'm just watching this guy do things." Like there were a couple where he makes a couple threes over double teams, step back,
Yeah.
his speed from end to end, his ability to grab the rebound and run. I'm
He made like NBA range threes too. Like he took a
unbelievable.
couple that were like really, really deep.
Yeah, unbelievable. I just went and saw Jabari Smith and the Rockets play the Suns here in town. And I did think about this last night when I was watching the film. I would love to see Jabari Smith play Ace Bailey at both of their primes. I'd love to throw Jaylen Brown in the prime of his career playing against both of those guys as well. And I started thinking about like Ace Bailey, like, man, where is he going to stack up for me in the all-time greats in the state of Georgia? And he is in that upper crust, man. Like we've had a lot of dudes right out of the Atlanta area, particularly at that position in my career. And what I saw, particularly in that Wheeler game, and what I've seen all playoffs long, man, I got to be honest, I'd only put him in the same category as Jaylen Brown, who's
Yeah.
maybe my all-time favorite guy that I've ever seen in Georgia.
Would you say that if you had to re-rank the 2024 class right now, would you put Ace Bailey #1?
Oh yeah, we've gone through that before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would too. I think, and I would put, this is just completely a side tangent, but I think I would put VJ Edgecombe at like 3 or so.
yeah. I'm not too far off with you on that one either. I totally agree with you. Yeah, the player that I saw last night was an NBA player for sure.
Yeah, he seems like he has the highest ceiling that he's still ascending towards, right? So I think if you're ranking for NBA, that ranking for Ace Bailey being the best player out of this class in 10 years is a safe bet.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Grayson for a second, though. So if you had a look at, they do have the depth, right? Like they've got
Yeah.
some great size. Jacob Wilkins does pose a problem with his length and his athleticism. I think matches not, yeah, I think he does. I think he matches at least step for step athletically with Ace Bailey, poses a problem enough to make Ace have to work a little bit tougher. But like who's gonna give Ace the biggest challenge defensively, in your opinion?
I guess Jacob Wilkins, just based on athleticism and size and all of that. I think they're gonna throw multiple bodies at him. I
Sure,
think
they will.
it's gonna be an undersized, like he's gonna be undersized compared to Ace Bailey, but I think Anthony Alston's gonna guard him a little bit.
Mm.
He was that region's defensive player of the year, I believe. So I think he's gonna spend a little bit of time on Ace. I think they're gonna throw Jakari on Ace a little bit. I mean, I think everybody's gonna take a turn with Ace, maybe aside from CJ Highland, unless he gets switched on or something like that.
Is the Jakari Harris Jay Nash matchup maybe getting is that really maybe the matchup that we need to keep our eyes on?
I don't know if they're going to be matched up. I think Grayson has 3 guards, so I don't know who's going to spend the most time guarding Jay Nash. But yeah, I guess that could be. I think Jakari is the more steady and reliable player than Jay Nash is at this point. So I think that one's not really the thought that I was thinking. Really,
When we put out a poll, let me pull this up to see where we're at right now with the data. I always love putting these Twitter polls up to kind of check the temperature of what the state of Georgia thinks on how these games are going to play out. I gave it some distance, the poll. We've got over 200 votes right now in our poll. Grayson's got a 53 over 47% edge over McEachern, and it's kind of how the state's voting right now. I feel like that's kind of on brand for what I would expect it to be.
That checks out. Yeah, Grayson has the depth. They've been the best team in Georgia all season. I mean, they have more better players, but McEachern has the best player. And like I said, it's just a matter of like, can you maybe hold Ace Bailey under 30 points, keep him around closer to 20 points, and can you just make sure that nobody else goes off around him? Because McEachern does have other talented players. Like you mentioned, Jay Nash is a good player. Dozie Onyerimbo is a good player. Jaden Bonds is a good player. They have guys that can hurt you elsewhere, but it's a matter of just limiting those guys to 5 to 7 points or so and making sure Ace Bailey doesn't just go nuclear.
Sure. If McEachern wins this game, I do wonder where does this put Ace in the conversation of the all-time greats there at McEachern. Obviously, Sharif Cooper is going to draw a lot of that conversation. Isaac Okoro, to me, was always the guy that stood out the most to me. I thought he was the most important guy, actually, during that era when they were together. I mean, I'd even go back to the old days of watching Morris Allman way back in the day when he was there. It does make me wonder, Josh Smith, and who are the guys, like where does Ace Bailey going to stack up if they end up winning this? Because to me, Jaylen Brown cemented himself when he ended up winning that last state championship, and Ace Bailey to me has that same sort of flavor that we saw with Jaylen Brown, where he imposes his will when it matters. Grayson, obviously, to your point, the deepest team that's still playing for a state championship. We know that Coach Jeffrey Pierce is going to have those guys ready to go. They've put a schedule together for since Pierce has been there to prepare those guys for this type of game, to prepare themselves against the number one player in the country. Very excited about this one. That one's going to be.
Why don't we pose the question: is if Grayson wins this game, where does that cement Jakari Harris as the all-time Grayson player?
That's a good one.
Because it'd be their first championship, and he, steady guy leading them to a championship. He's gonna, if they win, he's gonna have a big impact on the game. So.
It's a good one. Yeah, it's a good one. I'm sitting there thinking, man, Grayson's had some dudes.
Yeah, you look at what Ian Shefflin's doing at Clemson right now. He's been balling out. So, yeah, they've had plenty of dudes. So I think Jakari Harris with a ring, could cement himself as at least one of the all-time greats, if not the all-time great at Grayson.
I think that needs to be a Twitter question for us for sure. If you're watching this, leave a comment below. Give me the 5 best players ever in Grayson's history. I'd be curious to hear what people say. Maybe we can kind of do a poll from all of that. So going to be fun. Do you have a prediction on this one?
I'm going to go Grayson just because I've said it all year long. I mean, they haven't lost a game in Georgia. They beat McEachern. I was there. They beat McEachern relatively handily at the beginning of the season. So I think that I'm just going to have to go Grayson. Just logically, it doesn't make sense not to. But if McEachern wins, I'm not going to be surprised at all. Ace Bailey is playing on a different level than pretty much anybody in the entire country right now.
Yeah, I think to that point, I think I've got a slight edge. I always go the studs. I always go the superstar when it comes down to it. I do think this is going to be.
And here's the thing. Normally, I do agree with you, but I think Grayson just has they do have stars, and they have just more of them. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of have to lean with maybe they don't have a star as bright as Ace, but they have a lot of stars that are pretty damn bright there in their own right.
Okay, let me pivot one more question then. The spread, is it a 5-point game, over or under?
I'm gonna go under. I'm in my head. I'm gonna think it's like a single possession.
Under 4. Is it under 4?
At that point, I would stay away. I wouldn't even take it. I would just be like, that's too close. I think it's gonna be a single possession game. I'll just say that.
Yeah. I was gonna say I'd go under 3.
Maybe like fouls at the end of the game separate it to being.
Yeah, I think it's got that type of potential too. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to get away. I think this is going to be back and forth. I mean, we kind of saw the same thing when the Wheeler matchup, right?
And credit to Wheeler. I mean, they are a younger team, and they are missing Coda Suttle, and they are a smaller team than McEachern is right now. But they hung in that game for most of the way. I think a couple of youthful mistakes here and there, a couple of shots didn't fall, and they didn't end up winning. But I think Wheeler had a really good season.
Yeah. By the way, I'm hanging my hat still. Josh Hill, to me, is one of the 5 best players going to a non-Power 5 conference school. I think that guy's ceiling is so high, and saw some really great things from him. His mid-range jumper.
I like a lot of the things they've been seeing out of their young squad. So if we're going off on a quick tangent, but I think Wheeler could be a favorite to be back in this position, if not further next year.
Yeah, I actually think I would agree with that. I think we have FanDuel to put together a futures bet for 7A Georgia.
See, that'd be nice. We should start doing that.
Or I guess is it 6A? I don't know what it's going to be next year. All right, let's move on down to 6A. We've got a really interesting matchup between Alexander playing Riverwood. That game's going to be on March 8th, 7:30, and down there at the Macon Coliseum. And really, you've got a clash of two different styles. You've got some grinders. You've got some guys that are unafraid. I mean, both teams are unafraid. But some defensive-minded guys at Alexander playing probably the best duo maybe in the state tournament right now.
I don't know, man. Alexander put up 93 points in their semifinal Final Four games. Maybe it's offensive and defense.
Yeah, sure. But like that defense is going to be needed against the Riverwood backcourt that we know, Karis Bilal and J.R. Leonard, who both of those guys can go for 40. Those guys can both get hot. It's going to be really fun. Hey, I'm all for a fast-paced game. I'm all for a game that's going to be up in the 80s for both teams. This one's going to be a lot of fun. Give me your snapshot thought right out of the gate for this game.
What was that? Thoughts right out of the gate?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If Alexander's got to slow down those two Riverwood guards, but then Riverwood has to do something with Braden Liu. Braden Liu's like
he's a problem
piece that Riverwood hasn't faced to this point. As far as the defense goes and like facing pressure and athleticism and all of that, Riverwood did just play Jonesboro, who's one of the more tough, gritty, defensive-minded athletic teams in 6A. So it's not going to be anything they haven't faced before, but I think Braden Liu poses just such a big problem with his size and just overwhelming dominance around the basket and all of that. I don't know if Riverwood has anybody to match him, but I also don't know if Alexander is going to be able to completely slow down Karis Bilal or J.R. Leonard.
Yeah, you brought up a great point with that Jonesboro game. I watched that one. We know that Dan Millman's going to have his guys ready to go. They're football guys. They're probably the most unafraid team there is in the state year in and year out. If I was an opposing coach, I would never want to play Jonesboro. They're going to make your guys go see the trainer after the game. Yeah. They're going to beat you up. And Riverwood, it took them a little bit of time to kind of find it, right? Bilal's just such a,
he was balling in that game. He was awesome.
He was. But it took him a little bit of a rhythm to find the time to get the rhythm to go. J.R. Leonard, I thought same thing. They forced him some really bad shots, but they, because he's such a good scorer, they went in. But once Bilal got loose, it was over. But man, both of those guys are just such wired to score guys. And that Jonesboro game to me was a real indicator of, man, this is not going to be easy for anybody that plays them. Alexander, to your point, I think does pose a little bit more length. And I do think that Greg Dunson has been really, really good for Alexander down
the stretch. Awesome. He had like 19 points or something like that in their semifinal win.
Yeah. Really balanced guy, passes the ball really well, rebounds the ball really well. He's been that steady force for them all season long and really kind of fits the mold for the type of guards that have had success there for Coach Jason Slade at Alexander. But Brendan Liu, you talked about him being the X factor. Does he have enough to take out Riverwood? Riverwood, the best season ever in school history for my guy, Buck Jenkins. Fun fact, when I first started doing this and forever ago, Buck Jenkins, he had a program called Inner Strength. It was the first like travel guy that like really bought into what I was doing. This was like, man, 2003, maybe 4. But he had Lorenzo Brown. You probably remember who Lorenzo Brown was. Played at NC State, had a cup of coffee in the NBA, but was an absolute superstar stud. And played with Buck, and now Buck has had so much success at Riverwood. It's been really cool to see. Riverwood, Buck Jenkins, Alexander, Jason Slade, two guys that I've known probably longer than anybody in the Metro Atlanta area in coaching, and two of the best guys. I'm really excited to see this one. Anyways, I just had to get that out there. For you, Josh, who you like in this game? Give me some predictions as we kind of look at 6A.
I'm going to go with Alexander to repeat. I think Braden Liu is going to have a double-double, and he's going to be a monster again. He's going to go out on top. And Alexander gets back-to-back championships. But I think Riverwood does. I mean, once again, I'm not discrediting Riverwood or anything like that because I think those guards are just electric and they're so much fun to watch. Yeah. I just think Alexander's just been in this position before, and Braden Liu is just – Riverwood doesn't have anybody to match him.
Is this a game that's going to be both teams in the 70s, in your opinion? Do you think it can be that kind of game, or do you think Alexander can grind it out a little bit?
I don't see why it can't be both teams in the 70s. I mean, they both just Alexander put up 93, Riverwood put up 79. Riverwood hasn't scored less than 70, and Alexander's been they haven't been scoring as much, but they've been winning convincingly. So yeah, I could see it being in the 70s.
Yeah. I'm taking the over on the total points over 141. How's that?
That works.
I know this became a betting show all of a sudden, but here we are. That's my own fault. 5A, we've got Eagles Landing playing Kell for the 5A championship on March 7th at 7:30 down at the Macon Coliseum. I mean, again, at the beginning of the season, I feel like these were the two teams that you probably predicted to get to the championship game. Once again, I feel like in 5A, these are the two teams year in and year out that you kind of expect to be there. And is that kind of how you saw it going back in November to where we are now here in March?
Yeah, I thought there was a little bit more variance when it comes to the other team other than Kell. Like Eagles Landing could have done it, which they did. I thought Maynard Jackson could have done it, which they made the Final Four. I thought Tucker had a chance to make it to the championship game. I thought Tri-Cities had a chance to make it to the championship game. So there was a little bit more variance when it comes to the opponent, but I always thought that Kell was going to make the championship game, and I think they're going to win it.
Yeah, it's crazy the fact that you lose Peyton Marshall, the most physically intimidating guy that we saw in Georgia basketball. You lose him to OTE, and they just keep going. And here they are back in the title game, back in that contender spot. Cannon Richards, I thought, was really good in the playoffs, particularly in the semifinals. Is just kind of what you expect him to be. And I remember 2 years ago, you're like, JY, that's your kind of guy. And you're right, just an absolute team guy, rebounder, hustler. Controls the middle. And of course, CJ Brown, who I still don't know if we've had. I mean, he's been great. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if we've had like the CJ Brown moment yet. I mean, you've watched Kell a lot more than me. Have we had that moment yet?
I don't know if we've, maybe not completely, but he was pretty damn good against Dutchtown. Dutchtown was probably the team that was most likely to beat Kell.
Yeah.
And CJ Brown went for 26, and he was hitting his jumper. He wasn't just dunking; he was just shooting threes. I think he hit like 3 threes, maybe 4 threes in that game. He had his mid-range jump shot working really well for him. So I think that was a pretty damn good performance. 26 points. I don't know.
Yeah, and maybe I should have restated that where he does have that play at the rim. You're like, oh my God, he just took their souls with that one play.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we've seen like that highlight play that gets circulated yet, but I think we could see it against Eagles Landing because I think this is going to be a transition-heavy game.
Yeah, Eagles Landing, another team with good depth. I feel like they're a good balanced team. Bobby Buggs, maybe the best name.
Yeah, he was awesome in their semifinal win.
Yeah. What is it about this Eagles Landing team that allows them to keep being at this position to be a contender year in and year out? I feel like we say this every year. Everybody in Atlanta knows that they're good, but I don't know if they ever get like the full credit for being consistently this good.
I think it's just they have a lot. They always have guys. Like this year they have a lot of depth. I thought Dwight Brown was really good for them in their semifinal game as a big post presence. Bobby Buggs is really good for them. John McQueen transferred in the middle of the season. So they've got just a lot of dudes that can go out there and make plays. Clark Maston's been really good for them. So they have just, a ton of depth. So I think that's what it is for them this season, at least.
All right, give me a prediction on this one, 5A.
I'm going to go with Kell winning. I mean, I picked Kell at the beginning of last year. I picked Kell at the beginning of this year. It's just crazy to bet against them when they have most of the pieces back from the team that pretty much won convincingly last year. So I'm going to go with Kell again. I know they lost Peyton Marshall, but they played a lot of the playoffs last year without him because of certain foul trouble games and stuff like that.
Sure.
So Kell's proven that they can win at this level. They've got so much shooting. They've got a lot of depth. They pressure the ball a lot. I think Eagles Landing will be able to handle that pressure, but I think Kell just has some of the more top-end seniors in this game, and I think they'll be able to win it out.
You lose Scoot Henderson 1 year, you go out there and win. You lose Peyton Marshall the next year, you come back, you're in the same position. A lot of resiliency with those guys on that Kell roster. All right, let's move down to 4A in a game that I'm actually like really excited about. I think it's one of the more exciting games that's on tap, and we've got Holy Innocents playing North Oconee, and that game's going to be on March 6th at 7 p.m. down there at the Macon Coliseum. And both of these games, that North Oconee game that they played, oh man, I watched the game and I'm totally drawing a blank. Against Baldwin, yeah. Unbelievable game. They were down by 7 with 2 minutes left to play. North Oconee powered back, got it done. Kamari Brooks, the sophomore, big bruiser inside, was amazing. 28 points. Yeah, he's a big time football guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how big time he is, but he is a football guy.
I mean, I get it. He was unstoppable down low, an absolute force. Beat up Baldwin, a program that also not a program, or a program that's not afraid to pump out some high level football guys over the years.
Yeah, Baldwin's really good too. Congrats on a great season.
Unbelievable season. Ben Smith, one of my all time favorite players I've ever covered. Great season for him. Excited to see what they do with their program here moving forward. But North Oconee down the stretch, man, they were awesome to come down from 7 battle back down there at Fort Valley State to get this win. And now they get to go play Caleb Wilson, who I'm sure Rick Rass, Coach Rass has got his hands full there with Caleb. Caleb, to me, outside of Ace Bailey, was the most dominant guy that I saw in the semifinals. Defensively was an absolute eraser and caused so many problems on the defensive end and was so much fun to watch, man.
I mean, I think you could go, like, if you're just picking across all of Georgia, I think you could give Caleb Wilson neck and neck with Ace Bailey. I don't even know. He might even surpass Ace Bailey because Caleb Wilson's putting up almost triple-double numbers this year on this playoff run. I mean, he's not going through as many bona fide dudes and tough programs as Ace Bailey is doing. But, I mean, he had 19 points and 21 rebounds or something like that in their semifinal win. That's impressive. And he had 8 blocks. He almost had a triple-double. Like, Caleb Wilson's ascending to the crown right now.
I'm going to put, like I said, I cut up a lot of video. There's some passes that he made that you're just like, oh my gosh. Like,
yeah, he's got really good vision. So does Ace, for that matter. If you're just kind of going back to the comparison, Ace has been passing the ball really well too.
And then the speed from end to end. I mean, you know me, like I love a comparison, but I also try to be careful with my comparisons. I'll say this. There is a flavor of Giannis to Caleb Wilson that I really liked. Really liked the presence that he is, the quick twitch, the speed, the mismatch ability that he brings to the table on both ends of the floor. And offensively, like, I don't even think Caleb was like even close to being at his best in that semifinal win down there at Fort Valley. Like, he was great. Don't get me wrong. But when I was shocked that I saw that he had 18 points in that game. I didn't think it was that many, just because he was so good on the glass and such a great passer and great defender. That all those things mattered way more than what we saw from the scoring. I think Giannis has that same sort of ability to him, particularly at the early parts of his career. But man, this is going to be a lot of fun. You flip it back over to North Oconee. Obviously, Kamari Brooks is going to be a problem down low. But man, we've talked about it before. Justin Wise, to me, just keeps quietly leveling up and leveling up. You know, if you leave him open, he's going to knock down the three. He's got great size. And I think Holy Innocents is really going to have their hands full with Justin Wise, who's just a freshman, but doesn't seem to be playing that way. Is he the best freshman going to be down in Macon, in your opinion?
Sorry, I had to think about it. Yeah, probably. I think Trey Keith is probably my number 1 freshman in the state.
Well, sorry,
right I know. That's why I had to kind of think about who was left in Macon, and I think Justin Wise. I mean, he would be in my. I'm not very well versed in the freshman class, but he would be in my top 5 freshmen in the state period right now. So I think he's the best freshman available on the board in Macon for sure.
Obviously, we know you're not a freshman anymore if you're playing this deep in the state tournament, so it'll be interesting to see where he goes with that. But Holy Innocents, like I said, Caleb Wilson playing at a different level right now. We've seen a lot of the Atlanta private schools all kind of have their moment. I feel like Holy Innocents has kind of been waiting for theirs for a long time. And is this the year where they bring home the crown and bring it back to inside the perimeter?
I am certainly favoring them to do so. I think North Oconee's been awesome. I think they've had a great season. Justin Wise has asserted himself onto the radar, I guess, of Georgia hoop heads kind of, lists of players to know. And I think they've had several other guys step up. But Caleb Wilson, Devin Hutcherson, those are 2 guys that North Oconee does not have, and they don't see very often. So I think that's going to give them a lot of problems.
Yeah, I was checking our poll to see where it's at right now. We've got over 110 votes on this one. Holy Innocents definitively in the lead, 82% over 18%.
I mean, like this one, you just got to go with the dudes, and Holy Innocents got the 2 best dudes on the court.
No question about it. Definitely excited to see where that goes. I think there may be a lot of national eyes taking a look at that one as well. I know Caleb Wilson has been trending nationally. In 3A, we've got Sandy Creek taking Sulci Johnson out of Savannah on March 8th at 3 p.m. That game's going to be the precursor to the Alexander Riverwood game. So a lot of good matchups there in Macon that day, with Sandy Creek making it back again. Sulci Johnson, listen, if you've ever been to the Macon Coliseum and the Adam Smashers are in the building, that place is going to be a party. The best state championship game I think I've ever been to was Savannah against Sulci Johnson back in the day, and I've never heard the Macon Coliseum louder in my life than that game. We know that the Adam Smashers are going to roll deep. But Sandy Creek, they just kind of quietly do their job. Micah Smith and those guys down there, and Tyrone. Coach Nickerson's got those guys playing really well, but they're going to have their hands full They upset Doherty to get to the state championship game with Johnson. Sandy Creek, they know that they're going to have their hands full here with the team out of Savannah. But what is your take on this game, Josh Tech, in the 3A division?
Sandy Creek's been beating the hell out of everybody. They're gonna win. I think they're gonna win. You can't pick against anybody other than Sandy Creek. Like logically, like unless you're a someone from Savannah, like we've seen Sandy Creek lose in this position before, so it's not like completely out of the question or anything like that. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Johnson Savannah wins this game, but it would be kind of insane for you to be like, yeah, I don't think Sandy Creek's gonna win. Like they've been beating the hell out of everybody. They dominated this run last year. They have all those guys back from that team last year. Like just if you're thinking about it from a logical perspective, Sandy Creek is the obvious favorite.
I'd have a hard time disagreeing with you. Yeah, Johnson's had a great season. Yeah, I think that Trevor Doherty has been really, really good. Kamari Jones,
like I said, they wouldn't be a shock to see them win this game because we've seen Sandy Creek lose in this position. We've seen Johnson Savannah be like one of the perennial favorites to make the Final Four and make the championship game, but it's just different.
It's different. Yeah, it's different. It's different. J-Mac and his crew, I think Sandy Creek also takes the championship there at 3A. In 2A, we've got a fun one. We've got Toombs County against Westside Augusta. That's going to be on March 7th at 3 p.m. That game's going to be before the Eagles Landing Kell game. Westside Augusta is going for a three-peat.
Yep, I picked them to win it before the playoffs started, but Toombs County's been kind of quietly very good, and Dominique Eason has been pretty incredible for them during this run. All the games I've seen, he's had some highlight reel plays. So I think that this one is shaping up to be one of maybe the most interesting one, honestly, besides maybe Grayson and McEachern.
Yeah, we know that building's going to be rocking. Both these programs are going to travel deep. Westside Augusta, to me, has been so much fun to watch those guys kind of come up to play for a three-peat. You're getting into real rare air in the state of Georgia to contend for that. You're right. Dominic Easton's been killing it. The balance, though, Westside Augusta, is that why did you pick them at the start of the postseason for them to win it? Just because of the balance, because of the depth?
Yeah, I mean, balance, talent, program history. Like they've been here before. They know how to win. Like it's just they had the formula to make a deep run in this tournament. And there was no other obvious teams that stood out as like the dominant one. There was no Sandy Creek in this region, or in this classification. There's no like, all right, Westside Augusta is going to have their hands full if they play blah, blah, blah. I mean, they have other good teams, but I'm just going to go ahead and bet on program history and talent in this situation. That's why I picked them. But the way Toombs County has been playing, like, I kind of almost second guessing myself, but I'm going to stick with it and stick with Westside Augusta. But
you gotta ride it out, bro.
Yeah, I'm going to for sure. Like I'm not second guessing it. I'm just giving Toombs County their flowers to have me in the position where I'm like, man, maybe I should reconsider.
Well, there's your flowers. I don't know if there's a flower emoji that'll pop up here on our live stream. If you're watching our live stream still, we appreciate you sticking around with us. We've been going over 30 minutes. He's Josh Tech. I'm Justin Young. This is the Fast Break. We're talking about the Georgia High School Basketball State Playoffs. The state championship week is this week down in Macon, Georgia. We're getting ready to wrap things up. We're going to talk about the two Class A divisions here. We'll start with Division 2. You got Manchester playing Green Forest. That game's going to be on March 6th at 3 p.m. It's going to be the precursor to the North Oconee Holy Innocents game. Manchester pretty close to Macon Coliseum, so they'll be coming pretty deep. And Green Forest, I feel like they've got second home down there in Macon. They may have played in more state championship games than anybody, maybe more than anybody. Yeah, actually, over the last 10 years. I actually need to go back and look at that. That'd be kind of a fun fact to take a look at. The longevity of playing for a state championship. Green Forest Christian has been absolutely dominant. Talking about this game, obviously we know Green Forest is probably going to be the favorite in this one. But Jaden Terry was really good last round, 24 points for the Blue Devils out of Manchester. What do you expect out of this one?
I'm expecting just once again Green Forest win. Like they play such a different schedule than the rest of the people in this classification, the rest of the teams in this classification rather. They're more battle tested. They have more of the, I guess, top tier talent, like the more bona fide, this guy's got a shot to play college basketball kind of talent.
Sure.
Like I said, they play everybody. They have the program history. Like you said, they've played for more championships. They've been in this position before. I just got to go with that at the end of the day.
Yeah, their guard play. We've talked about their size always been a problem. Their guard play this year has been stellar.
Yeah,
That's gonna be
absolutely. They have two guards that can go get you a bucket and make you a play. And I think in this situation, in this scenario, in a playoff setting, that's the key. Because you don't have to, like in previous years, you had to get their bigs the ball in some way. But this year, you don't have to get anybody the ball. You just get the guards the ball, and they can go make the play for you.
on a pivot. Now we look back over to Class A, Division 1 or Division 2 rather. We've got Paideia playing Mount Vernon. That game's going to be on March 9th at 1 p.m. That's the first game of the day. On Saturday, the last game of the day is the McEachern Grayson game down there in Macon Coliseum. But, for years and years and years, it was St. Francis and Green Forest. And then before that, it was Southwest Atlanta Christian. And there was always like these runs of the private schools. And now I feel like we're entering into a new era with Mount Vernon and with Paideia. Both of these programs, we've seen the Mount Vernon program, particularly like from the ground up with our guy, Tarek Maben over there. Eddie Johnson there at Paideia was part of the Miller Grove run for a long time. Has really built up a nice program there at Paideia. But this was going to be an interesting game. I actually really like this game a lot. Really intrigued by this matchup between these two programs. Both of them enter into the playoffs playing phenomenal basketball. Let me start with Paideia. I think CJ Harper, to me, is in my short list of most favorite guys playing in the postseason. I love what I've seen from him this postseason. I'm actually really excited about him over the next 12 months. I think he could be in the next big Atlanta prospect. I know he already has a strong, national brand as is, but I feel like we're getting ready to see like this real ascension for him. And then Tristan Mitchell was awesome. They got a lot of really good young guys there at Paideia.
Yeah.
Am I right? That's what I probably should say about that CJ Harper jump up here in the next 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, last year, it's slowly building, and I think this is a good time to note for parents and coaches and all those people who might not be as in the weeds as we are. Like last year, CJ Harper was he's a sophomore now, so last year he would have been a freshman.
Yeah.
Like people, coaches and media and stuff were not really watching people that young at that point in time. Like that wasn't the case. Like this is the year when he's going to start to get more attention, right? Like people are going to go out and see him more. He's going to become a little bit more of a college prospect. Like still, if you're expecting college coaches to line the baselines, I don't think so yet. But I think this is the year where he starts to develop more of that reputation. So going into next summer, the summer of 2025, that he starts to become a priority for coaches and stuff like that. But I do think you're correct. I think this year is when his ascension is going to begin.
He just has this it factor to him that every time I watch him, I'm instantly pulled into watching him.
Yeah, for sure.
And I love where he's taken his game. On the flip side with Mount Vernon, listen, they've got some great size. I mean, terrific size. The way that Coach Maben wants to play, they want to be tough. They want to be physical. He wants to bring that Memphis personality of his onto the court. We know that Paideia, they are young, and that physicality is going to, I think, give them some problem. Shia Goba was awesome. I thought in the semifinals. We know Xavier Shayog is going to be really, really good down the stretch. How do you like this matchup between these two programs, and ultimately what stands out the most to you when you look at these two programs going head to head, Josh?
Well, it seems like it's a great matchup. They split during the regular season, right? I mean, Paideia won one and Mount Vernon won the other. I think Mount Vernon is just the more talented team. They have a lot of depth, and they have a lot of experienced depth. So maybe a more talented, not the right word, but they are the more experienced talent because a lot of these guys have been there before. They're upperclassmen, they're seniors. KJ Garris, one of the key contributors for Mount Vernon, is a junior at this point. So they have a lot of guys who have been in these battles before. So that's why I would give Mount Vernon the edge. But obviously, as the regular season shows, Paideia can easily beat them.
I pulled up our poll to see that, and it kind of falls in line. Mount Vernon 78% favorites on our poll. We got 100 votes on it so far. If you want to take a look at that, go to Hoopsie in Georgia. We've got all the championship games up there. Make sure you get your vote in there as well. Very excited about this one. I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm excited to see where these two programs go over the next.
I think the Mount Vernon story is a good one just because, like you said, they've been building this program for years. I think this could be the coronation of that. And if it is not, it is going to be the coronation of young superstars in Georgia in the Paideia young guards.
Totally agree.
So I think this one's one of the more interesting as maybe a historical footnote or like a footnote that could be a launching pad for some of these younger players or programs or anything like that.
All right, Josh, I'm going to put you on the spot. Okay, we've got 8 state championship games. Give me the 3 games that you're looking forward to the most.
All right, I
already know the most one.
7A, if you are someone out there that's watching this and you're gonna say that 7A is not one of them, you're lying to yourself. I know, like, shout out to a lot of these other classifications, but Grayson McEachern is not just a Georgia game. That is a legitimate national game. Like,
Totally agree. Yeah.
that is one of the best games in public school in the country. So
Yeah,
that's not just a
absolutely
Georgia deal. That's one of the best games in general. I am excited for the Paideia Mount Vernon game, so I'm going to put that one in my top 3 as well. And then I'm going to go with that 6A one. I think Alexander and Riverwood could be really exciting. That styles clash could be really fun. If Kayla or if Karis Bilal goes crazy, I think that could be really fun to watch. And same with J.R. Leonard, and seeing the opportunity for Alexander to potentially repeat could be fun as well. So I'm going to go with 7A, 6A, and A D1.
I like it. I had 7A. I had 2A or 1A, D2, the Paideia Mount Vernon. I got
D1.
D1?
Yeah,
Oh, you're right. You're right. Sorry, that's my fault.
Mm-hmm.
The North Dakota Holy Innocents game is the one for me. That really
that one's gonna be really fun. I think that could be another coronation. In any regard, that's gonna be another coronation game, because it's gonna be the Holy Innocents and Caleb Wilson finally getting a ring, or North Dakota coming from the North Georgia and beating one of the powers in that division.
All right, let's wrap up here. I'm going to go through all these. Let's make sure we take note of our predictions. Let's see where we're at the end. Okay. You were taking Grayson, right?
Yes.
I'm taking McEachern by a point. Sorry, Grayson. You can hold it against me. I'm totally fine with that. Alexander Riverwood. You're taking Alexander?
Yes.
I think I'll take Alexander as well by a close one as well. Kel, you're taking Kel.
Yep.
Hard to argue with you on that one. I'll roll with you. North Dakota Holy Innocents. Who are you taking on that one?
I'm taking Holy Innocents.
I think I am too, Josh. I do.
It's Caleb Wilson, man. Like, he's
I know.
Been monster numbers. Like,
I think we're both on the same page on Sandy Creek.
Yep.
Toombs County, West Side Augusta. We know that this one is going to be a battle.
This might be I might have to switch out one of my top 3, because now that I think about it, this one might be the one I feel the least confident about. It's the most up in the air for me, at least. I'm gonna go with West Side Augusta, because I've been going with them all year, and I think the 3-peat story could be fun. But man, Toombs County's playing really well.
I'm gonna go with Toombs County. I'll play the devil's advocate.
There we go. Dominic Eason, that's your guy.
Green Forest, Manchester. You got Green Forest.
Yep.
We're in agreement there. And then Paideia and Mount Vernon. You got Mount Vernon or Paideia?
I got Mount Vernon. Yep. I think Tarek Maven and company are going to get that first ring, and program's going to be held in high esteem in Georgia circles.
We're going to be back here next Monday. We're going to talk about the state championship games, the winners, the losers, the things that we learned in our last season podcast here on the Fast Break, talking about Georgia basketball. This was fun. It's a long one. We appreciate you sticking with us. We're going to cut these up as well and drop these on our Hoopsine account, talking about each of the classifications during the week here on social media. So keep your eyes open for that. But Josh, this was fun, man. Enjoy the games there in the Peach. Are you going to head down to Macon, or are you going to do a split, watch some online, watch some in person?
I think that's probably going to be the move for me. One year I went to every game in Macon, and that was fun, but I don't want to really do that again. So I'm going to maybe pick and choose my battles for this year.
If you do go, if you're watching this, make sure you head over to New Way, get yourself a good hot dog down there in Macon. Go to the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame in downtown Macon. A lot of fun if you're there. There's some good live music there, some music history there in the city of Macon. So make sure you go check it all out. But for Josh Tech, I'm Justin Young. We appreciate you sticking with us on this long show, this long live stream today. Like I said, the games are going on down in Macon. We'll have you covered on our social media accounts. This was fun. We appreciate everybody coming through. Appreciate everybody tuning in all season long, and we'll see you down in Macon for the state championship games. Take care.